I'm James Ashburn with Sumo Logic from our Sydney office, and I'll be taking you through a live demo today of our DevSecOps capabilities and how we help troubleshoot and look through the logs there. Sumo Logic, for those of you that don't know, is a cloud-native machine data analytics platform delivered as a service. We help customers monitor, troubleshoot, and secure modern applications and infrastructure. So we work very well on cloud devices as well as for anything that's on premises. Um, our platform provides, we think, several key advantages. Two of them are, one is we have a true multi-tenant architecture. So being based on in the cloud, it makes dealing with static capacity limits really a thing of the past. It means that we can ingest anything you need from a logging and metrics perspective, tracing, and usually we can pass on some savings because we're so scaled well for that. We also believe that not all data is created equal. So you as a customer can differentiate between production, development data, compliance data, and all of it's priced and given the performance that reflects the value of that data. Today, I'll be taking you through a scenario that uses Sumo Logic to understand the health and events happening in a system. These events include operations, development, and security-related data, all visualized in a single dashboard. It's to provide visibility into groups with a wide breadth of responsibility, namely DevSecOps, right? Extending security throughout the organization into the development and operations aspects. We're gonna look at these from instead of a silo perspective, we're gonna correlate them across the CI/CD pipeline, so we can look at everything all at once. We'll also see anomalous behavior occurring in the dashboard, so it's one we can regularly monitor. So we can investigate the situation and use this information to prevent a potentially costly attack. I'm going to start our actual demo here in Slack. So we integrate natively with Slack, and we get several alerts through there. In this case, we've got an outlier alert on log ingest, where log ingest has peaked, and I can use the button on here to drive directly into my DevSecOps overview dashboard. I actually already have that open here within Sumo Logic, and this is our dark mode. And you can see all of the various information here at a glance across the systems. We also have the ability to see this in the new Explore area. So our Explore framework allows us to see this as well. We can turn this to a night theme as well, or a dark theme. Here, we can use this to view across multiple aspects of Sumo Logic and the data that we bring in, whether that's AWS observability or Kubernetes type things. So we might want to see things from a deployment node or namespace view, or because we can tag the data coming in with extra metadata, we can know things like the service that these devices are all supporting. So we have that available at a fingertip. And it's very, very easy to utilize this way. So we can see across namespaces, regions, accounts, everything of that nature. In this case, what we're looking at are these panels, these individual panels that have come from other out-of-the-box dashboards. So you can recreate your own custom dashboard if you want by utilizing things that are within the tool already. In this case, our log levels over time here in this upper right panel are what drove the notification to us. And we can see that we had logs coming in here that were at a moderate level, mid hundreds, or under a 150 or so. And then all of a sudden they started spiking. We got some for info logs that are in the 400s or above. We also see with this dark blue region here, we are now getting debug logs, and we can actually toggle that to see that there were no debug logs coming in prior to this. So all of a sudden they started appearing around 1132. So that's something we probably want to look at, and that's the reason for the trigger. Now we notice a few other things happened at about the same time. We can see from our TCP by node panel here that we have a spike in network connections. So those jumped way up quite a bit. They looks like they tripled from about 500 to about 1500 range. And then CPU also increased. So we were sitting around the 70s, upper 60s. Now we're hitting peaks up here in of 100. So our CPU's pegging quite well. So we see what's going on from an operations standpoint. We can also look at some statistics from our Nginx status codes, and we see we've got pretty good, moderate number of non 200s, but all of a sudden we see that we have these 401s coming in. And if we toggle on that, we can see that there were a few before, but now we've got quite a few. So that's something odd's happening there. So what's going on with that? We'll be investigating that for sure. And then down below, we don't seem to have any security threats that are out of the ordinary, but most of them are either low, or in this case, there's a few, about 1% that's unverified. So just a quick overview of the dashboard so that you can see, we can easily see what's going on across the whole landscape. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drill into this dashboard. And I'm going to open this in a metrics search instead of in a query for the logs. When I open this in the metrics search, it'll just give me a bigger screen with the query still on it for those metrics pieces. But what I want to do is overlay this with some information about what's happening. So what I want to look at is, there we go, demo DevSecOps app. And I want to look for a keyword of debug. I want to see where those debug logs started coming in, if they have any kind of a correlation here. And it's very easy for me to see that because we've taken log information and looked for a single word with debug and found that occurring. And that gave us this heat map at the top. And all of a sudden I have access by just clicking on a region of that to the particular debug logs for that one time slice. So for that particular range of 1 minute, 11:32 to 11:33. If I do a shift click here, as it shows in the pop-up, what this will do is drill down into a dashboard for me so I can see all of that. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to actually look at these logs in the surrounding messages, because debug logs aren't necessarily going to show me what the problem was and why this occurred. Why did debug logging all of a sudden get turned on? And if I look at everything plus or minus 5 minutes, and then I might want to look at more than just the app. So if you notice up here in the up in the query window, if I remove the app area, I can actually see that we also have Docker, Jenkins, and Nginx. That's all a part of this. And I might want to search across all of those to see everything that's going on across them. So if I do that, now I have a 10-minute time window with all of my logs from the DevSecOps perspective. And I've got about 10,000 records on this. So you can see that I have 9,661 items and I have 387 pages worth. Instead of trying to scroll through and read all these, which would take a massive amount of time, I'm going to use a capability in Sumo called log reduce. This is a proprietary log reduction method that we use with machine learning to reduce what we see on the screen by grouping log messages together that have similar structure. As you can see here, it's created these signatures, and these signatures are taking place in the messages we saw before. And the asterisks are simply wildcards replacing some data that changes from log message to log message. So we can see in here that the IP equals 10.0. and then a bunch of stars. And it's giving us that type of information. I can look through 2 pages a whole lot more easily than I can look through 382 pages. As I scan through here, I'm not seeing the reason why the debug logging came on, but I'm actually going to turn it upside down. I'm going to look at it, the fewest number that occurred, and I can see right here, this Jenkins entry, someone has submitted and got a successful submission of code into production, and that's the user Ricky. He set the debug equal to true. It was left on. this is probably the root cause of what was going on. So I can contact Ricky and say, hey, can you reset that and see what's going on? What I'm going to do in addition to this, though, is to see kind of more clearly what's changed between now and before when things were running fine, is I can do a log compare. A log compare takes two sets of log reduces and bumps them up against one another to see what's going on. And I'm going to run this from 24 hours ago. And if we do that, because everything was running fine before, we didn't have that. We could likewise run this from 30 minutes ago because things were fine, or 10 minutes prior to what we're looking at. The range doesn't necessarily matter. You can also run this against dev logs versus production logs to see what's happening there as well. What we see is we actually have some new entries here. It shows us a difference in percentages from before, but right now we can see that these new log entries that we're getting now are people trying to gain access to a URI called admin test access. And they're getting denied for bad password. And we can see that there's a discrepancy of about 10 between them. So that's not good. We want to go and investigate that. And we're going to use a template to do that. A template is essentially a query that's been pre-written and given some variables that we can then control. So these variables are parameters we can just plug in. For example, here I can change the URI. Instead of being all URIs, I could look at admin dash test dash access and look at this over the last 60 minutes to see what's been happening. And I can see that there's a bunch of 401s here. Matter of fact, what I might do is, instead of looking at all of them, I might just look for 200s, which is a success. So we'll see pretty quickly here that, that we're lucky. No one's gotten in yet. So essentially that URI is being attacked. People are trying to gain access that shouldn't have access, but they're not getting in at this point. So that's very good for us right now. And what we might do is go back and have a look at how we might modify the query itself, because we could do something like this and have a look at everything that's coming across. Helps if you put the log card in. And we can see that most of our traffic is coming from Russia. So we probably want to change that URI. So we've gone through and been able to, before a security event really occurred where there was any damage done, we can now remediate pretty quickly. And we're able to understand how this occurred because somebody left debug tracking turned on in the code, and we can get that URI removed and turned off and reallocated. So we were able to take this from an alert that came in that was automated to a particular dashboard and see what was happening within that dashboard that we had debug logs coming in. We could then go find those debug logs across all of our different devices and all of our apps, everything that was worth looking at within that stack for Docker, Jenkins, and Nginx, and then perform log reduce and log compare. So it's a pretty quick way to go ahead and identify the particular items that are causing issues. That's everything we had today, folks. Hope you enjoyed it, and please reach out. We're happy to discuss with you if this is of any interest. It looks like we have a question. Is the dashboard available out of the box with Sumo? If so, what log sources are required to make it function correctly? So this dashboard is coming from multiple. this was created by taking these panels from multiple other dashboards and combining them in a way that allowed us to view multiple things at once the way we wanted to. So you can do this with any of these. So happy to reach out to you, and we can go through this individually if you want to. What would I say? Okay, the next question is, what would I say is the biggest differentiator between Sumo and Splunk? Well, the biggest one that I see most of the time, they're kind of two. One is that we are truly cloud native. We were never a deployed application on premises. Because of that, we operate with a scalability that others don't have. Splunk just can't match. Even when they move Splunk into the cloud, it's usually an individual instance for Splunk per customer. This allows the type of processing that we can do without having to worry about how many processors, how many cores, how much RAM is being used. The things like log reduce and log compare are very resource intensive and can become a problem for other systems. So I think we can just outpace them. The other one is pricing. We price based on ingest and how long you want to retain your data. So those are I think the key differentiators are, one's financial and the other one is simply our scalability. Yeah, that's about it. Any other questions? Looks like someone's put something in the chat, maybe. Okay. It was just instructions to come to the Q&A. So if there are no further actions, thank you for your time today. Feel free to reach out. You can find us, not only contact us back through there, but we can also be reached by going to Sumo Dojo on Slack, which is just slack.sumologic.com. So happy to have you join us there, and you're welcome to reach out to me directly. Another question came in. Can you compare Sumo with Datadog security monitoring? We've been doing security since basically day one. Datadog started with metrics and we started with logs. Logs is a much more difficult problem to solve, but we've been doing it for well over a decade. And our security capabilities, I think, are more advanced. We also have the ability to branch into things like Cloud SIEM Enterprise, which is what we've not gone into in this demo today. But Cloud SIEM Enterprise allows you to ingest logs from Sumo Logic and use them at a higher level where the records are ingested. In this case, we have 6 million records ingested. It turns it into signals. So we get 84,000 signals, which is not really easy for anybody to get through. So we actually boil that down into insights, things that are actually important to you. So we have those insights. They're these red triangles in the radar image here. So we can view and drill down and look at those and see what's going on. If you want more information on that, we'd be happy to follow up with you. Any other questions? You're welcome. All right. Thanks, guys. I think that's all we had today. Hope you have a great rest of your day, guys.